Alex Haynes.
And I'm Tiffany Linnell.
And this is happening. Honestly, we wanted this to happen at a better time and a greater time. I haven't talked to y'all in over a year. I haven't talked to a lot of people in over a year. Okay. And I think because I've also been one with my thoughts, right? I've been really focused on what I think, making sure that in all of the craziness I can still think, and observing. So as often, like, and this is probably as raw as it gets. I've told Tiff before I hit live, right? I'm 100% sure that this stream will probably disappear. There will be no trace of this conversation. If you ever say that I said it, I'm gonna own it. But we're not living
to own it.
I mean, the former president is a great example of how we're living in times that you shouldn't leave evidence. But before I even go there, because again, I'm somebody that really cares about humanity. Despite where my fundamental beliefs are, despite my spiritual beliefs, despite my preferences, because that's how people mask hatred. They mask hatred with the word preferences. They mask hatred with the I really just don't really care for. And okay, so that's fine. We thought it imperative that we have this conversation called "This Is Happening." We're gonna have it over a couple of days, but I thought it important, and even before getting into this, because there's not a lot. Well, let me ask you this question, because I know that we want to talk about a couple of things. Right. Someone just texted me and said, "You better leave this up." No.
We make no guarantees. Sorry.
I want to talk about a couple of things, but when I ask you about patriotism, Tiff, what do you think of when you give me the definition of patriotism from your eyes?
What it's supposed to be, or what it is?
Your definition, because everyone has their own definitions of everything. That's also part of the problem. You got a bunch of stupid people that have no can't even put a subject and a verb together. But your opinion is one that should weigh, or should be weighed, or people should be taking your opinion as fact or truth. And some of these stupid opinions are coming from the highest court in the land. But before you give me your preferential definition of patriotism, just tell me what you think it means to be a patriot.
Okay, let me watch my words.
Let's do it. Let's see what you can do.
That's a tough one to watch my words with. But I think that patriotism, unfortunately, right now is standing for bigotry, hypocrisy. Not by everybody, but patriotism is divided. Patriotism is broken. Patriotism it's supposed to be love of land, love of country, love of people, love of differences, because differences is what makes us. We are a melting pot of a nation, and yet our differences seem to be dividing us more and more each and every day rather than bringing us together. So it's extremely difficult for me to define even a current state of patriotism or a preferential state of patriotism, because right now that seems to be the makeup of a divided country, whether you consider yourself a patriot or not. I think the fact of the matter is right now we are divided as a people and as a nation, and that's not what patriotism is supposed to be.
I think that you're right, and I love that you put a lot of genuine care, and it was a directed, this is what patriotism is, and this is who we should be. By definition, it's literally just the devotion to and vigorous support for one's country.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I get that, right? So devotion to or vigorous support for one's country. And I'm someone that loves definitions. You know that. I love that. So honestly, in 1865, devotion and vigorous support for one's country looked like racism, right? And that was okay because the country was indeed racist. Now, I'm not. We're not we're not going down the racist rabbit hole today. But if we're going with the definition and the definition of this country, from preamble to constitution, which includes a lot of things and leaves a lot of things out.
A lot of things out. Like equal rights for women. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there because, you know,
like black people. Black people. But anyway, okay, so that's the definition. That's the definition of patriotism. I got it. I'm clear. We're good. Now, a patriot in the United States, and I learned about, you know, and as I say things out loud sometimes that I haven't said before, I got to second guess them as they're coming out of my mouth because I'm like, I learned about patriotism, and my brain was going to finish this statement. It said, in this country. I shudder at that because I feel like I should have learned it somewhere else. Because somewhere else, I think I would have gotten the understanding of what that meant and been able to connect with what that meant and then stand by what that meant, right? But what we also know is that to be patriotic in this free country that is defined as free in so many ways, to be patriotic is to literally do anything that you want to do as a free person. Consequences come with you being free. Right. But you see, that's what a free country come with it too. Responsibility. You should be making decisions, but it's patriotic to do a lot of things that have nothing to do with the country, right? It's patriotic if you don't stand for the flag because you have an issue with your country at the moment. It's patriotic.
That is unpatriotic, even though, again, as we have said,
no. In a free country, because the definition of patriotism is devotion and vigorous support to one's country. A country that is free insinuates that anything you do, and that's the way that it was taught. That's how I learned it. And we started to see this being a real problem, specifically when somebody was literally humbly kneeling in protest to the country. And you see that he's the concern of nobody at this point. It was a flagrant act for no reason to draw attention away from the mess that was happening at 1600. So while we start with that definition, I want to move into, because as part of this series, and I know that we'll talk about the series and why it's important for you to connect to it. But as part of this series, I think we're also going to go through some other pertinent definitions. And one of the definitions is hate. And so because I felt like, you know, in our community, hate can also be a playful word. And it's still true to definition. But when you're a hater, you know, in our community, right, you know, it's a lighthearted statement most of the time. But I would offer to you that most people don't even know what hate really means.
I don't disagree with you. We may know what it looks like, but even that is what some.
No, we know what it looks like when it's vicious and malicious. And I would argue to you that it's vicious and malicious even when it doesn't look or feel that way because we haven't put a social construct around that.
I would agree.
But defined, hate is simply to feel intense or passionate dislike for someone or something. It's very simple, actually. It's so simple. Oh, a passionate dislike. And in this country, the two things that people get most passionate about is politics and religion. And so when things are funneled through those lanes, regardless of, I'm not talking sides at this moment, I will eventually. But
That's coming.
within that specifically, right? If everything's funneled through those lanes, or you've defined your patriotism or your humanity by politics or religion,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I was going to be able to draw this parallel or make this point, but it's made perfectly. Because as we lay this out, if you are somebody that funnels everything through your politics and your religion, we know there are one issue voters. We know that people will not do things based on their religion, right? So it's everything is funneled in some certain ways. And I think to me, that's the first point of freedom that a human needs. Right?
Is to be able to funnel things through your religion or your politics?
Is to not funnel things through your religion or your politics, right? Because if you strongly dislike something, you hate it, despite what your religion has redefined as hate, or despite what your politics has told you it's okay to hate this one, or it's okay to hate that one, and it's really just not. It's just not. But you don't even know that you're hating because you got the green light. You got the green light from someone, you got the green light from somewhere, which leads us to the attacks that we are seeing constantly. The attacks that we are seeing on people's humanity, we're seeing it on communities, and so there's that definition. We're starting the series, and we wanted to do the preamble mostly because we wanted to give you some insight. A lot of people don't know what's going on. And more than anything, I wanted people to get, I'm going to say this. The number of people that are in my inbox or text messages asking me why I'm silent, I don't respond. Here's the response. I'm silent because I keep my eyes open. And because I am awake, I hate saying, I'm not going to use the word wake in this culture because it's loaded.
Not gone far.
But it's hard. It's hard for me to respond. It's hard for me to give you encouragement. It's hard for me to be a student of true history and not tell you that history is repeating itself.
Right. Plain and simple.
No one wants to hear that I learned that wrong. No one wants, and that's part of the reason why we have so many issues, because as we evolve, eventually people stop. And it's either it's usually by choice. And I don't think anyone ever says, oh, I've learned enough. I've learned enough. I don't want to know anything else. Or you base your experiences on what you knew, not acknowledging that it's possible for you to know more, not acknowledging that the world's bigger than you know. And I know that on one of the days, it's not on the calendar yet, but we're going to talk about experience and exposure. You need more of them. We all need more of them. You need more exposure. You need more experience. And I'm going to end with this, because I know I've been running my mouth and I want you to do what you do. But I think it's important, and I was just sharing this with my best friend. It's really, really important that when you have conversations with somebody, that you learn their history. Like, no matter who it is, whenever you meet somebody for the first time, make it a point to learn their history. When you do that, you will change the way that you think about them. You will change the way that you think about the world. And that's just the bottom line. Like, when you learn someone, because you come into every situation with a predisposed or preconception of either what you've been taught or what you've been told. And when you only focus on what you've been taught or what you've been told, and you can't be told anything else or you can't hear anything else, you're limited. And so nobody else wants to tell you that they're limited or tell you that you're limited in those aspects, because when you're limited in your thinking or when you think one way, you're easily controlled. You're easily manipulated, you're easily fooled, and you are easily bamboozled.
I mean, the word says my people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's just, I'm going to just throw that Bible verse in there really quick. And we could talk about the different interpretations of that and all of that another time. But I agree with you. I think experience and exposure are key.
I almost got a stroke by you saying that. And not to say that we're throwing that away, but also we gotta remember, we're talking history. Our people in this country got that knowledge as a regurgitation, right?
Some of it,
and
yeah.
We got it initially as a regurgitation, and then played the game of telephone down the generations.
Including the Bible. I constantly say the Bible is a different game of telephone.
We played the game of telephone, and not only we continue to play the game of telephone, and those telephone games became traditions.
Yes, and rules.
The most traditional people will tell you, and here's where it comes down for me, right? My dad told me this, and I couldn't believe it came out of his mouth. He said, tradition ain't nothing but peer pressure from dead people.
I will never forget you telling me that.
Because it took the stronghold of tradition off of me.
Right.
There are traditions that I can embrace, but I really don't give a damn about a tradition. Because most of the time, there's a lot of toxicity branded into it or baked into it. And so with the tradition, like the tradition of enslaving bodies on this planet, it's just something that the planet wants to continue to do, or the people on the planet, right? And so,
anyway, I agree. I think that experience and exposure is needed, but not just needed there. I think that experience and exposure, not only are they needed, but we need to be able to learn from the experience and the exposure that we gain. We need to be able to look at an experience or go through an experience and exposure and say, okay, very similar to when we're kids and they tell you not to touch the stove because it's hot. Oh, I'm gonna touch it anyway because I gotta be exposed to that hurt or that danger. I have to feel that it's hot. I need to experience it so that then I can learn from that experience. That is the kind of learning that we are supposed to be, I think, that we're supposed to be doing throughout our whole lives. Okay, if we do not stand up for this right now, then in 10 years, they can overturn legislation that has been in existence for 50. We are not paying enough attention to the experience and the exposure of our ancestors and of the traditions that have caused hurt and harm and danger and trauma. We're not learning enough from the cycles that continue to repeat themselves in the history of our nation and of our communities and of our people. If we do not begin to really learn from previous generations, from previous fights, from current fights, I say this when I'm talking about intergenerational conversation all the time. If we cannot have conversations and take the good from what has been done, take the good from what's being done now, take the bad, learn from it, rework our plan and our strategy and move forward together, we will continue to fail and be divided. We will continue to be broken. We will continue to experience trauma. We will continue to have our rights stripped away from us as men, as women, as everyone who is a human being. We will continue to move in the wrong direction. And I think that is the state of where we are right now. This is happening. We are moving in the wrong direction in every aspect, in every arena.
The truth of the matter is, we should have said this is happening when, how do I say this properly?
We've already said that twice tonight.
Somebody's trying to tame me. So let's start here. America is not a democracy. Okay? And so, but we've been bamboozled to believe that it is. America is a republic, by definition, with democratic tendencies, right? But it's not a full democracy because the decisions are never made just by the people.
That's been obvious.
No, it hasn't been. And I think that's why this is happening. Because if it was I think part of the problem is, right, we have this, and again, I think that You don't even know if you're you don't even know that you're inside of a fix until the fix is affecting you. Because the fix has been in. The fix
yeah.
has been in before I got here. So part of my frustration with this fight, part of my frustration is the fact that I was not just bamboozled, I was blindsided because of the fact and the fact machine that I was getting, the understanding that I had until I sought one for myself, and then got the mandate to also share that with other people, right? When you hear that, oh, I make up my own facts. I have never heard that statement. That doesn't even sound real to me. I make up my own facts. I don't even know how to address the problems in that sentence. I can only repeat that sentence because it's been said to me. Oh, I make up my own facts, okay? But I don't know what we're talking to you for. I don't know what I'm gonna accomplish with this if you make up your own. But it seems like, because we've learned to weigh opinion just as heavy or equate opinion to fact, we can all believe something strongly, right? We can all only, and I'm gonna stick with definitions as much as I can tonight, so that I'm not cussing all over the interwebs.
Okay.
I wanna let me do 2 more definitions, and then I want to kind of land on what is actually happening. If I get another text about this shirt, yes, feminist AF. This is the shirt that I'm wearing. It's pink AF. It was created by my best friend. He has a shirt brand called Wear Kindness. Go buy a shirt. Specifically the motherland. Well, actually, no. Go buy you a shirt. Go buy your shirt.
And wear kindness.
But let's talk the definition of feminism, which also we should talk. I'm open to talking about these things, knowing their history, right? Because again, a lot of you don't even know that certain euphemisms and words and whatever you want to say did not include women. American feminism left us out. Like, we want to do a women's movement, but who seems to be right all the time is just Black women every single time. Like,
which is one of the reasons I'm a womanist.
And
that's a whole other conversation on the difference between.
But there's nothing wrong with this, because this is a person that supports it supports the political, economic, personal, and social equality of people. That's the actual definition of the sexes. But I also think that's a older definition just based on what I know about the world now. So, and finally, the last definition that you're gonna get from me, and then we'll talk about, this is happening, why it's happening. Bigotry. And I could not, because that is so innately part of something that I don't like to endorse. But you know what? The reason I'll say this is because I think it's something that's going to help somebody. Specifically people that have discovered that I don't want anything to do with them. So if you happen to be one of those people that are like, man, he hasn't responded to a text message, he ain't said, and maybe this isn't the reason I didn't respond. He's very short with me. It's because I think you're a bigot. But my thought is an opinion, right? I believe in facts. That's what I bring you. A bigot is somebody that has obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction. In particular, a prejudice against a person or people based on them being a part of a certain group. Now, while we have racism in this country, we have prejudice in this country, everybody can be a bigot. And it's easy to detect. Because if you like something because you just don't like it, bigot. And I know if you're watching, like, well, the hell with this. He is talking about me tonight. I'm getting the hell out of here. But that's what you are. You can't even define why you don't like it. If you don't like something, because, I always grew up with my grandmama and them, she said, we don't like that. Oh, we don't do that in this family. I can say as a Black person, I know that's one of the things that we say. Not in this family. But the problem is, Black person, you say that to somebody that you don't even know, you never got to know truly. because your bigotry was so loud they never showed you who they really are. In fact, you probably don't even know them. I would offer to you that never mind. I'm going in another direction, but I wanted to define that because we're going to hit it. And it's part of the problem because we won't unpack it. And it exists everywhere, right? It's not just in the families. As a Black person, I speak about bigotry in the Black family because it exists.
Right.
And as much as I even want to feel like some of the bigotry is justified, do you know what they did to us? Do you know what they do to us today?
So we're talking about the overarching sentiments of where we are. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening because it's a lot.
It's a lot. We can't, as we do that, right?
Let's start with Griner,
Please just shut me down. I'm going to start with something Black because my Black ass likes to do that. There's a Black woman that is in Russia that should not be there.
Period.
I'm going to say, you've probably heard the story or you saw it in passing. We were told to not make it a big deal. Media was told, the WNBA was told not to make this a big deal, but it's a big deal. And in your bigotry, you're probably like, oh, she's 7 feet tall. She can take care of herself. Not even funny. Because what I know about this country that takes care of its own, if this was a 7-foot male NBA player,
they'd have been home.
A private plane would have bombed the land so that the United States could land and jet set that person out out of Russia. And it's so sick. It's so sick. Well, the response is, well, she shouldn't have had drugs. And it's so, first of all,
hold on, let's back up and tell folks what is going on.
I need you to, because
for those who don't know, we are referencing Brittany Griner, who is an American basketball player for the Phoenix Mercury of the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA. She has been detained and locked up in a Russian prison for, I believe it was one vape cartridge. She was detained in the airport upon trying to leave Russia. There has been a lot of commentary that says she should not have been carrying drugs. The charge is, I believe, drug trafficking, essentially. Again, this was for a vape cartridge, and she has been detained for far longer than she should have been. In the beginning of the situation, there were calls for her release by many, many, many people here, including some other WNBA stars, who were also then told, basically, keep calm. We're taking care of the situation quietly. We're going to get her out. She'll be okay. Promises, promises, promises. That did not occur. She is still detained, and her trial is set to begin on Friday, and she is facing up to 10 years in a Russian prison.
Right? And so, for context, since y'all know everything, the world's not like America. And America really isn't like America, apparently. So there's not a right to a speedy trial, a jury of your peers. This is Putin's court. So as a 7-foot tall, lesbian, Black woman, her life is at risk. It's at risk. When she goes to court, 1% of the people that go to that court are found not guilty. 1%. And she's facing 10 years for drug trafficking. While you vaping, listening to me. That's for that. An alleged cartridge that was in her luggage as she was leaving the country. And she's trafficking drugs on her way out. If she had them. But
I've been trying to figure out how this is allowed.
I offer to you, and we can move on if you don't want me to say it. Russia knew that the United States wasn't going to care about her. And I offer that because just like Russian, all those people that y'all was talking to and resharing the conspiracy theories during COVID and during the Trump presidency from these Russian bots on Facebook and Twitter, they've now learned the algorithm so well, they create digital images that look like what you like, what you're attracted to. And the next thing you know, you're talking to a Russian bot. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. It's because it's so real. It sounds crazy. But just like that, they know what we pay attention to. That's my point. They know what we value. They know what America values. I've done shows about what America values for like 15 years. So I'm not going to go into that because you know what that is.
Right.
So long story short, we didn't advocate for her like we should have. We didn't as a country. We just did not. We are basically saying we don't care.
Essentially. I'm going to put the photo of Brittany up while we're talking.
And I say that because you could be like, oh, I care. But you don't. You don't. And I'm not one that wants to force, again, I'm never going to force you to believe anything. I'm never going to force you to do anything. I'm not bigoted. So I don't believe that you should do things because I like them. I don't think that other people shouldn't do things because I don't like them. Because what they're doing has nothing to do with me.
Right.
So we're going to...
wide range of topics.
Well, we put, like, what I would love to, like, there's not a GoFundMe for Brittany Griner. There's not. Because funding what?
Right.
There's not a support page. Your tweet's not free Brittany Griner. It's not going to do it. And maybe it's time to talk about how your social media outrage ain't going to do nothing anyway. To anything. If you don't figure out while you have it that you have the power, you're going to lose it.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to lose it. And I say that to say your social media activism, bravo. Like, bless you. I'm so happy you could post memes and nice videos. That is wonderful. It's wonderful. But that phone that you have, that phone works. So, homework. Because I can't believe we've gone as long as we've gone already. But homework. Because we don't even know where. Anyway, homework. Google your zip code. Just open Google, put in your zip code, and type state representative after that. And then just screenshot it. I'm giving you, if that's the homework, we're not going to do anything with it yet. Google your zip code, type in state representative, screenshot, save that, save it. We're going to use it. We're going to continue to talk about Brittany Griner, what's happening. Obviously, the latest we'll offer and bring to you, but it's a tragic situation all around.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Like, you know, first of all, like, you know, Black people, Russia is never on our to-do list. It's just not. It's not. And we know, if we were looking from the outside in, there's another place that's on the other side of the world that would not be on our list either. But we built it. So as we move on to the Supreme Court of the United States, I'm tame tonight. I really am. I'm doing a great job. Thank you, Alex. Wonderful. The Supreme Court of the United States, oh my God. Part of the problem with me getting through this is the memories that I have talking to people, which is why I stopped talking. First and foremost, no. Judith Shonlin was never a Supreme Court justice.
What?
I have never shared that with you. Judge Judy is a TB judge, y'all. She's not part of the
Have you
Supreme
actually
Court.
been asked that?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought since she was on TV, that's where we are. This is happening. That's where we are. This is happening right now. This is happening. So the Supreme Court of the United States, if I could summarize to you what it's supposed to be, because I'm not a civics teacher. I'm not a civics teacher. Social studies teachers though. If you teach social studies or history, I'm so curious of talking to everyone that I can get my hands on. Call me. Seriously. That's a real call. Like if you teach history on any level, social studies on any level, because I want to know what you're saying. What could you possibly say? Especially if you lead from your opinionated, bigoted moral compass. What are you saying to the kids? What are they saying to your kids? Oh, I got my kid in the best schools. Yeah, bet you do. The Supreme Court of the United States is part of one of the three branches of government that we have in this country. We've got a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and an executive branch. These three branches aren't supposed to be in cahoots. They are separate branches because they are supposed to ensure that we govern equally and correctly.
In a balanced fashion.
It's a system of checks and balances. That's what it's for.
That is correct.
Packing it from any standpoint is dangerous.
That is
because
correct.
It will throw off the system of checks and balances.
Correct.
Now, I want to deviate here for a minute. We'll pause because we just gave you the Supreme Court. Can you guys guess which branch it sits on? Anyway, and part of what's important that we discuss is, again, as we talk experience and exposure, because when we start to talk about the court, Tiff, I suspect that a lot of people are going to be like, well, I absolutely support the decision because it's what I believe. And I think that's where we've hit the wall over and over and over again. And we're going to keep hitting this wall. If you're supporting things, hear me correctly, support what you believe. Definitely.
To an extent. Because sometimes you need to support.
I can't make the people have a moral compass. I can't. What I can do for you, I can give you definitions, right? Because I don't want to change nobody. If you stand in your bigotry, my favorite racists are the ones that are loud. If you are a loud racist or proud about your racism and you out shouting from the mountaintops, I would probably go out. I'd have a drink with your racist ass because you're not harmful to me. It's those of you that are undefined, racist bigots, and you don't even know yourself. You don't even know that you're that. You're the ones that are dangerous because it's my heart, it's my moral compass, it's how I feel. But you can't really align it to anything. You can't align it to justice. You can't align it to love. Oh, yes, I can. My bigotry isn't rooted in love. In hate. My bigotry, okay, so you told me I was a bigot by definition. But I just don't agree. So why are you passionately talking about it on Facebook? Your passionate disdain. And I'm just giving you real life examples of how people encounter you and how you show up. I think that the disservice that's been done by Christians in this country, specifically white evangelicals, but you know what? People, especially the Black people, love for me to get on here and say something about white evangelicals. But here's a pro tip for the white evangelicals and for the Republican Party. Religious Black people would be a part of your party if you weren't racist. Because they're just as bigoted. They lead there. You lead there, right? So my faith says that no, your faith, all of them, all of your faith says that you should love. That's really what it says. They all lead with love, all of them. It's a crazy concept, right? Because if you listen to some of the Christians from the 90s, they would definitely tell you that the Muslims, they don't love anybody. After 9/11 in this country, and you know what's crazy in this country? People still treat Muslims insane because of what happened on 9/11. You see someone in a turban, you go the other way, you don't want to be on the plane with them, and y'all are getting worse because you were emboldened by this asshole that used to sit in the White House. But what's crazy is we all should be looking at the real terrorists that terrorize our schools, our movie theaters, our churches. And I know y'all probably don't, but I look at them sideways. I don't want to be in a movie theater with any crazy white boy, ever. I don't want to be in a movie theater. If a crazy white person walks into a church, I'm not thinking that he's in here for healing. Hell no, I'm getting the hell out of there. And you should too. Oh wait, if I put them in that category, am I turning into a bigot? Am I cat? Let me not do that. So I think my main issue here, and it is that because we lead with that, our hearts aren't open to anything. We're no longer open to truth. We're no longer open to someone else's truth. And despite our lack of experience and our lack of our exposure, based on what you heard or what you were taught, this person has to be the worst because that's what I was told they always were. And I think it's just time to imagine yourself on the other side of that. The fact is, most of the people that you're bigoted towards or hateful towards don't have that same animosity towards you. But they could. So that leads us to our Supreme Court. Now, I don't know. I told you to stop me. I don't know why you.
Now you know how hard that is.
I don't know why you won't.
I tried.
The Supreme Court, as we start to talk about this, has been stacked.
We talked about this previously. We talked about this at the end of Trump's administration when he was packing out the courts. We warned of how dangerous it was that he was packing out the courts right before the end of his administration.
And we're going to talk about it. We are. I'm going to replay for you the lies as these people were asked what they would do when they get elected to the bench.
We talked about the dangers of him replacing the justice at the end of his administration. We talked about all of this. So now here we are, and the Supreme Court has handed down multiple decisions. I know everyone is talking about abortion rights, but there is a bigger issue here.
Are they?
Not just some are, and a lot of.
I feel like a lot of people are, but I think that, and I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
There are a lot of decisions that were handed down alongside abortion rights that we're not talking about that really speak to the larger problem that we are talking about. And that's why we are saying this is happening. It's not just abortion rights. It is religion and the death penalty. It is the Second Amendment. It is the First Amendment. It is separation of church and state. It is school prayer. It is executive privilege. It is multiple decisions that were handed down that lead to the larger issue. A lot of the decisions were handed down with the 6-3. 6 is the conservative parties, and there are 3 majority liberal parties. There's Sotomayor, Kagan, and Breyer. That's the liberal bloc. There's Roberts, Kavanaugh, Barrett. Some of those names should sound familiar. Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas. Roberts is the Chief Justice. So when we are reading opinions, which we will do, we won't read full opinions because, for example, the abortion rights opinion was 231 pages. So we will not sit and read them word for word, but we will talk about them in different parts of the series. But the Chief Justice, John Roberts, is whose opinion we are reading. And then you normally have the dissenting opinion written by the dissenting majority. And then you have sometimes a concurring opinion.
And unfortunately, Roberts and his chiefing means nothing right now.
Oh, and announced today, the Supreme Court justice who we were anticipating was about to retire is going to retire tomorrow and will make room for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to be sworn in and take the oath. And she will start her job tomorrow at noon.
Mark my words, the attacks on her will be unfounded. It's going to be like something we've never seen.
They already were.
Oh, they were before she had the seat.
Oh, yes. They were
she's getting a seat with no judicial power at this point, and the target will now be on her back.
Absolutely.
Because they have to distract from what's going on. So I know we can't. We're going to get into the decisions this week. Well, not this week, but throughout this series. And so it's important that, again, if you're watching this on a replay, you're listening on a podcast, you're going to want to check either the Tiffany Linnell podcast or Unmuted Nation podcast to get these episodes. It's really important that you hear these in a way that's applicable to you. So as we get through 45 minutes of preliminaries to get to the real point of you understanding, the only reason we do this is so that you can understand it.
Yes. And have informed conversations about it.
It's meant to confuse you. It's meant to, and it's often worded in a package that will fit inside of your bigotry, which is the reason that we defined all this at the beginning. Now, some of these opinions, they're coming fast. But when we talked about this a little bit yesterday, when you say abortion rights, or when you start stripping a right, when you strip rights, you keep going. That's what happens. And the momentum to take rights away from people gets ridiculous. So one decision that came down today that you and I haven't even talked about this, but because it affects the way that brown people will be treated in this country, and parallels the U.S. Supreme Court expanded the state power over Native American tribes. Okay.
So let's
I don't know how to explain to you. If you don't think this country committed any crimes, get the hell off this stream. You don't belong in here. Because it doesn't, I can't, what I'm saying is going to make sense to you, because there's a lot of people in this country that believe that like slavery was a necessary evil. It needed to happen. Yeah, well, Japanese in concentration camps, what about that one? How about coming to this land and telling these people that you found this land when they were already here, and then killing them off and moving them into camps? I don't know why that's hard to hear. That's the damn history. That's what happened here. And the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday dramatically increased the power of states over Native American tribes and undercut its own 2020 ruling that had expanded tribal authority in Oklahoma, handing a victory to Republicans again in that state. Now, if every decision that's coming down is in favor of Republicans, again, it doesn't take a rocket science to say that there are no checks and balances, there is a slanted majority, and we're in trouble. And I would be making the same argument if it was leaning the other way. Anything that's going too far is just too damn far. Now, let me ask you this question, since you think, oh, it's okay, because that's what they're saying about all they did was give abortion rights back to the states. You took an innate right away from, well, that's how it's worded. That's how it's worded. So that point alone means this. It simply means this. If you say that it means nothing, what do the Republicans need more power over Native Americans for? Well, we gave it to the state. No, you gave it to the state that's run by Republicans, and you know what you were doing. Like it's all in the verbiage, but what do you need it for if it doesn't mean anything?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. And I'm not ready to even go through that. But
I had to drop it out there because, again, for the most part, they look just like me.
We also have broken many, many, many promises when it comes to Native Americans, indigenous populations, tribal lands, tribal property. Like, the land was already stolen. They have already been pushed to reservations. Again,
Folding my arms on air. Like, that's how pissed I am. I would never fold my arms because this body language just says, I am closed. Closed. Over it is really the thing. But the broken promises, like, I guess I'll put we on there. I guess. I would never vote to break promises against people that were harmed on this land. I wouldn't do that.
we will talk more about this case.
Yeah, we want to talk about this one. I mean,
but
there were more cases that have been struck down, a lot that you should be aware of.
The point is, there is a larger problem. The point is abortion rights, gun rights, and the decisions, when you look at a lot of them overall, like you said, they feed into more conservative values, but they also feed into evangelical Christian values. So, for example,
what's wrong with that?
Multiple things. Number one, the highest court.
Well, how did you say that? You're a Christian. How did you say that?
The highest court on this land is not supposed to govern itself and its decisions based on religious preference or belief. And that is one of my major problems with some of the decisions that are being handed down. I personally believe in religious freedoms. I personally believe that separation of church and state is not used unless
now where'd you get that belief from? Because we believe that this godly country needs to turn its heart back to God. As a country, we need to embrace. I know that I'm starting to boil your blood, but we've got Christian viewers that you and I have churched with that I never want to see again that believe like this.
I know, and
because of your lack of experience and exposure.
No. I can't even say it's a lack of experience and exposure. At this point, you are making a choice. At this point, if you are deciding to not wake up and quite literally smell the desecration of this land and this country, I really don't know what to tell you. If you are making a choice not to see that rights are being reversed, if you are making a choice not to see that rights were just stripped from an entire group of people based off of gender or religious belief, because women should not have autonomous rights to their own body on this land, if you are not allowing yourself to wake up and smell the fact that they just hypocritically decided that you can carry in the 7 states where you had to do more than prove that you needed a weapon, they just completely desecrated that right for the states to protect their people. You also, yes, we passed bipartisan gun laws and Biden is signing it into law. Fantastic. You know what that does? It focuses more on mental health, which we've been screaming about for generations. And now all of a sudden, because you don't want to pass gun laws that actually should do more, they should have more background checks. They should have more protections. Because you don't want to pass that, now we want to have the conversation about mental health in this country. It's too late. And it's not just about that anymore. Make the decision to wake up and pay attention to the reversal that is happening for the liberations of people on this land. We don't have time to play.
Here's something else that really gets me, right? So, and I offer you this. They don't care.
And that's the problem. And that's why people are packing their bags.
They don't care.
People are packing.
They don't care because if you've always been taught, and so that's why I say exposure and experience is quite the thing, right? Because for the longest time, like, and I'm going to use this example, and everybody else dog whistles, so why shouldn't I? So, of course, I have a plethora of I don't know what we call this now, family, whatever, family, something like that.
I've been trying to figure out what to call it. I just say
My
chosen
family,
family at
my
this point.
I chosen family, whatever. That's my family that I
Right.
met when I was 18. They all still my family. Like that's my. Those are the people that you see me with. That's who I be with. Those are the people that like know. Like they understand. We're on the same wavelength. We live all over the place now. We will all live at one point in Atlanta. But if I live in Atlanta, that is what it is. But if you care, because here's the reason you don't care. You've always thought that this should be a godly country. And you were taught that people that don't think like you are godless. You were taught that people that don't do the same thing that you do don't deserve, which is all in error. It's all anti your faith and it's all rooted in bigotry. But because you were taught it in a place that you revere, in a place that you admonish, you don't want to put that down. You rather just put people down. You rather say, oh, I don't give a damn about these women losing rights. And as we start to unpack this further, with throughout this series, it's hard to say, that I believe this way because based on my faith, because your faith hasn't always believed that way. Your faith hasn't always used those terms. You said a scripture at the beginning, for lack of knowledge, my people perish, but your people are perishing. Like it's the same.
Literally.
No, in real life. So,
in real life.
And again, they're like, oh, the response is to it's killing babies. It's not. It's not. But again, I don't. You can believe that. Don't get an abortion. I find it funny, laughable, that in a labeled first world country, you ran out of formula to feed babies. No, I'm like you just couldn't feed them. You didn't have anything to feed them. And it's like, oh, we saw this coming. Oh, you want to blame it on the president? No, that had nothing to do with him. The president, let's be honest. Half the things that y'all want to blame on the president, y'all tweeting Biden and all, like,
wrong president.
Come on now. Now we will dive into the facts. I'm all about facts and statistics, and I will give them to you. But understand that the first 2 years of any presidency is literally the result of the presidency prior. When you hear it, you probably don't hear it, but in my circles, I hear all the time. A certain party always comes in and cleans up after another one.
Right.
A party of obstructionists. But if you can't find the humanity in your decision, and I think part of it is the framing of, oh, well, I find the humanity in saving the baby. But I'm gonna give you some stats. Just like you said, we're focused on mental health. Now we want to focus on mental health when the gun is the problem. And we know that the gun is the problem. And the mental, it's the same thing though. The government the party that is obstructing things is the party that votes no to more funding for mental health. They vote no to more funding for children's programs. They vote no for universal health care. They vote no for women's rights. Now, as they've elected their judges to go, and not just after they voted no, these laws that we've already given these people, since they don't vote for us, let's take them away. Now, if you're not paying attention, it can continue to happen, and it will continue to happen. This party that's doing this is literally about 30% of the people in this country. Now, I could just shut my damn mouth and just, whatever, but I care about the country.
People.
I care. I'd love to say that I don't, but I care.
Here's my...
Go ahead.
Here's my take, so to speak. I think that we have been in a terrible... I like sports. You like sports. I'm sure a lot of our viewers like sports. We are in a terrible game of football as this country. One side plays the long game, and they play it really well. They put certain steps in motion and in action and just lie in wait for the right moment or the right time or the
They
right
lie while lying. Like they're
while
lying
lying.
waiting while they're lying. Because it's just lies. It's just active lies and lie and lie and lie. And then they lie to you about what they did. They lie about why they did it. And they lie about not doing it again. You've
But
got
some
to.
of them even tell the truth. Some of them tell the truth. Some of them are front facing with their beliefs. We'll put it that way. Because right now I'm just laying out the facts or laying out the facts as I see them.
We're just laying out our case.
We're just laying out the case. One side plays the long game. They put their people in motion in certain areas. They infiltrate certain systems and municipalities and cities and roles and positions. Then there's another side that is very reactionary or will try to offer a barter. I'll give you this if we can have this. We'll sign this if we can have this. We'll pass this if we can have this. And there's not enough, I hate to say it, but there's not enough playing the long game on all sides of the spectrum.
Well, I think part of the problem is the game is different.
For everybody.
You have one side that says, okay, all of you, I know that you don't think one way. So come over here. Then you've got a group of you that all think one way, so just come over here. But I admonish you again. And again, listen, black person, if you're already a bigot, you might as well hate yourself and become a racist too. And just go be a Republican. Because, I mean, you already think like that. And
You can't say that, Alex.
I just said it. Because it's really true. Like, if you don't listen to yourselves, but, the thing about it, y'all should know. I mean, I'm going to just be honest. I'm not going to say any names today. But your children be in my inbox talking about you. They do. They do. They will send me, I'll get a note. I'm like, damn, I don't even know you, but damn, your mama is a mess. Wow. Wow, she said that to you? You said that? And that's you. You people say that, these kind of things. You say it to your loved ones that you don't like or that have started to live a way that you don't condone in this household. Maybe they sleeping with their girlfriend. Maybe they shacking up. Maybe they had a baby out of wedlock. Maybe they dating somebody from a different race. Maybe they gay. And all of these things can't be in your house. Why is that? I wonder why. It couldn't be because you're a bigot, because that word is too loaded. It's just like, but it's crazy that you don't like that word. I waited to the end of this to say this, because white people don't like the word racism either. The first time they hear racist, they're like, oh, I'm not racist. I got black friends, I got this, just like you. Oh, I got a gay friend at work. Yeah, but your son, you literally said, get the hell out and don't ever come back. You said that with your words to a human.
Out of your mouth.
Yeah, but my Bible says you said it to a human. You said it to a human. A human. Wake up. A human. It's not, and I don't know what it is. I think maybe I do really care about humanity. I really do. Mistreatment though, I can't deal with it anymore. I don't know what I can't. I'm telling you.
But I actually don't want to hear the Bible used to marginalize.
Oh, why not? Why not? Because the parallel. I'm full of parallels. But
hold on, or to condemn, or to anything else, any group of people, because I will never allow it to be okay when that same book was used as the foundation and the guiding principles for whites to enslave my people. So what you will not do in front of me, at least, is use that same book that was used to put my ancestors in enslavement and into other forms of slavery to lynch them and have lynching parties or picnics, if you will. What you cannot do is use that same book that was used to hold us back and hold us in literal bondage. You cannot use that same book to try and say, well, my Bible says homosexuality is a sin. Well, my Bible says that you can't back up. Well, my Bible says
again, like I said, we say
treat
this, and
human
then we
beings
got the
like
Christians.
human.
Like we got the Christians. You got the little like, and I know you're hearing my passion, and I'm sorry. I know, nice little church lady. I know you used to love to hear me talk, but now I sound like I done let the world get after me. No, I just love people, and I refuse to display hate. I refuse hate as we defined at the beginning of the show. I saw a post earlier this week and it said, listen, the Christian version of love looks just like hate. I can't believe it. I'm like, wow, that's a statement. But I'm gonna offer this as I wrap because I can't wait to come back to do the rest of this series.
Wait, we have one more thing we have to.
I know, but I want to say this. I know we got to touch that last thing, but I want to say this because I just know that you're like, damn, I am a bigot. That I hope you're realizing it. You got some people to call and apologize to tomorrow. But you said that to a human. You said it to a human. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. It's not right. You said it to a human. In your words, repent. Walk away from that. Don't do that again. Shame on you. Weaponizing God, just like they weaponized the police against us. Wow. Wow. I would never weaponize God. That's just what the Bible says. Okay, I'm gonna let you go to the next thing because, like I said, the people I love you, I do, but I can't do it, bigot. I can't do it. I won't do it. We won't stand for it. I will dismantle it at every turn, and I know that makes a lot of people not like me. Don't give a damn about that.
I just don't like. I don't like hate, and I think if we could all have a love for people, no qualifiers.
It's a hard.
No qualifiers.
It's a hard feat, my friend.
Love and compassion.
It's a hard feat for that to be the truth. We want that to be the truth, but it just ain't.
And see, for me to serve a God who loves all, sees all, hears all, cares for all, regardless of what God is named in a particular belief or anything else, I just can't get with that. I just cannot get with hate. I can't get with bigotry. I just can't. I can't. Now I'm going to move on to this last thing before we end up having a Bible study and deconstructing everybody else's beliefs on the word. So if you have not watched any of the January 6th committee hearings, you're already late. If you have not at least watched the highlights, you're already late. We have been watching the January 6th committee hearings. If you don't know what we're talking
about, like that because it carries a stench.
Yes, because wow. So rewind, of course, January 6, 2021. Biden is set to take the inauguration oath and all of that, become our president. When a certain orange person decided that they wanted to have a rally and, essentially encourage certain supporters, followers, believers to.
You can watch it here, but yeah. Huh? No, it just said January 6th. You can watch it here, but yeah.
You can watch it here. We covered it live. In disbelief.
It really happened.
This is happening. It really happened.
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't. And I was talking again on the phone, and they were like, I was literally at work, and I'm like, are we really talking credit cards while there's terrorists terrorizing our capital?
So we're just going to act like this isn't happening?
It happened.
Like one of the worst assaults on our capital since it was burned, set ablaze. Fast forward to now.
I know you've seen the footage. But The footage doesn't know justice. This was
No,
a plot, it was a plan, it was a conspiracy against the United States.
absolutely. I don't remember who said it, but during one of the hearings, which again we'll talk about in a second, one of the witnesses, or maybe it was an opening statement, I don't remember. Anyway, at some point I heard it referred to as um, an unsuccessful attempt at a coup.
It was a failed coup, which is on brand for Donald Trump, because I've once read all 59 of his failed businesses, the names of all of them on my show before. This is just another one of his failures. So, I mean, statistically, we probably knew it was going to fail, but the fact that it happened.
It really happened.
But
Even
to
in
me,
the
I can't wait till we like the people that are either still standing with it, either because you're oblivious, and the people that are standing with it, and you know, there are people that are standing with it and they know. They're on your TVs every night and they know. They were sending text messages saying, "Please stop now. This is a bad look." There's actually 3 of them that were texting the terrorists live while it was happening, and they're on TV, on network TV, nightly, 5 nights a week.
So there have been multiple hearings, including the surprise hearing that we had. What's today? Wednesday? So yesterday. Um,
Yeah.
which was the aide to the former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. Cassidy was, in my opinion, a great witness. And we can go through that, all of that later. But essentially, the hearings have been providing witness statements, opening statements, footage, testimony, what's it called? Lord, the word escaped me. Essentially, all of the interviews that they did after the January 6th committee hearings with different people within the Trump administration or within the Trump cabinet, or just in different positions. So we have seen never before released footage. We have seen video. We have heard stories, including the fact that Trump grabbed the steering wheel from his Secret Service and then proceeded to choke him because he wanted to go to the Capitol and march with his supporters and followers. There were multiple calls for him to stop what was occurring. They actually were watching it before they breached security, before they breached the Capitol, before they were breaking in the windows, before they were hanging nooses throughout the Capitol, before they were going through chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," before they were going through looking for Nancy Pelosi, before they were threatening the lives of all of those that were in the Capitol, Republican and Democrat, and everybody in between. Before any of that happened, those sitting closest to Trump, except Mark Meadows, seemed to be trying to get him to say something, do something to prevent the train wreck that they were watching about to happen. As she described it, Cassidy described it yesterday in the surprise hearing, there were some who fell on the side of, this is about to happen. This is really happening. We need to do something about it. We need to make a strong statement. We need to tell them to go home. There were some who were in the middle who thought they should do something but didn't know what to do, and also didn't really, they were just kind of on the fence. And then there were some who were just, this is meant to happen. It should happen. We should let this happen. Hey, they deserve it. Whatever they get, it's what's coming to them. So there was a full spectrum of people closest to him, but some people resigned immediately following them breaching the Capitol. Some people resigned immediately following that day. The point is, this was preventable, is my take. Trump could have done something sooner. He could have also not, let me say this. The followers and supporters, those individuals and groups who were present on January 6th at the Capitol, marching towards the Capitol, breaking the windows and doing all of the damage, life threatening, loss of life, all of that could have been prevented or at least subsided enough so that this was not catastrophic domestic terrorism event that it was on January 6th. If we don't get anything else from these hearings, number one, I want you to watch them. Even if you just watch clips or the highlights, or you go and pull up a PBS or any other, look at ours. We covered it live. If you do not, again, wake up and pay attention to what is happening, this is happening right now. And this is everything we've talked about tonight. We are really losing our rights as a people. We are really watching a Black queer identifying woman be detained in Russia, facing up to 10 years in prison for something that's trumped up and completely dumb. And our government has not, our nation has not done enough to help free her, period. We also are looking at SCOTUS hand down decisions along party lines that are benefiting evangelical Christianity, that are benefiting conservatism, that are not benefiting the people who they are supposed to be appointed to have a balanced opinion about. This is what we are missing. We are missing the balance of opinion, the balance of love, the balance of compassion, the balance of people in this country. This is really what's happening. We are really watching hearings occur about an insurrection on our Capitol, an attack on our Capitol. We started this conversation about patriotism and what patriotism is supposed to be. I may not be fully in love with all parts of this country because all parts of this country aren't in love with my Black body and mind. And that's just the truth of the matter. I'm safe in about 4, 6 metro cities. Everywhere else is slightly questionable at this moment. And it was always questionable from the time that my ancestors were enslaved to now. It's a lot of parts of this country that are questionable as to whether or not I'm safe to be there, that I will make it home if I am there. However, if I am to define what patriotism is, it is not storming the Capitol and saying, hang the vice president. It is not storming the Capitol and looking for members of Congress to hang via a noose or to kill or to throw a spear through or any of the other threats that they were chanting and planning out. This was a planned attack. They had maps, they took tours, they had help, inside help. This is not a game. This is not fabrication. These are the facts. There is video evidence showing them touring the Capitol with maps, with details, with plans, with strategy. And that's really the word I want to make clear. They are strategizing, and they have been strategizing for a very, very, very long time. When you read
your Black ass needs to pay attention.
When you read these articles, it says from conservatives, from people who agree with a lot of the decisions that have been handed down and a lot of the things that are happening. This was 10 years in the making. This was 20 years in the making. This was 50 years in the making.
50 years.
For a long
50 years
time.
they've been working on it. And you're like, again, if you haven't done your research, you're like, well, I'm glad because 50 years, the will of the Lord is complete. I like to read because I know the post because I know I know and I kind of feel where the pulse of the country is. Again, I don't know why this person sent me this text message today, but I'm not going to say who sent me the message. I'll just read the post and then I'll tell you who it's from. And I'll tell you why it's misguided. And as I tell you why it's misguided, you're going to say, Alex, I feel the same way. And it's fine. Feel how you feel. Don't be a bigot and impose your feelings on others. See, our feelings should never take things away from other people. The way that you feel should never affect, it should never harm, it should never hurt somebody else. How you personally feel, how you personally believe, what you think should be what you think. And legally, at this point, you have the right to think it. You can think it as long and as much as you want. But the moment that you impose that belief, whether it's based in religion or politics, where we started at the beginning, when you take that belief and seek to make that the law of the land or the law of, and I know we're a divided country. We are 50 states. I wondered myself as I was driving through the sticks of Pennsylvania. If you live in that, if your neighbor, your next neighbor is 5 miles away from you, vote. But don't vote to oppress. Ain't nobody coming out there. But the moment that you do that, you strip people of their own humanity and their own identity and their own truth. And there's just no reason to do that. So I think the point is made. I want to summarize where we're gonna go. You're gonna see we're gonna list the schedule of what we are discussing, how we're discussing it, when and where we're discussing it. That will all be on our social media. But I want you to stay close. We're going to try our best to use this hashtag as much as possible. This is happening. And when you see something happening that you think needs to be discussed, use the hashtag this is happening. We're watching, we're looking, because I think it's time to open those eyes. Like a lot of you, hopefully if this conversation did anything, it's like I have believed this whole way my whole life because my mama said, my grandmama said.
Well, what do you
I never really believed that. Or I met this person and they was nothing like they said. It's time. It's just time to wake up. It's just time. And Tiffany and I will definitely do what we can, how we can, the way that we've always done it, raw and unapologetic. But what we don't do, and what we aren't going to do, we will have additional voices in here, dissenting voices, people that don't necessarily agree, but may be able to agree that how you believe shouldn't be changing my rights. I wanted to read this from this person because I just know that a lot of us, the pulse of war, we are, because we won't have those conversations, we won't think any further. The Instagram post says, it looks like a baby announcement, and it says, "For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well." Psalm 130, 13 and 14, and it's a picture of a beautiful black baby girl. The caption here says, "Millions of babies will be saved from death by abortion due to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Hallelujah, all glory be to God."
I was really trying not to say her name. I really was. I was really trying to get off of here.
She said it.
I know.
She said it. She said it. Because she really believes this. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people do. A lot of people will die. A lot of people, more people are dying. The thing about abortion, when you take it away from people, and again, we got to end because we're way over.
Legal abortion.
When you ban legal abortion, abortion continues. It was here, and what's crazy? I know the narratives out there. We're stopping all the black women, the young black women, or the young minorities from having babies out of wedlock. But the majority of abortions are from women that have already had children and have made the decision that this is too much, I can't handle it. Followed by states or the country's decision of, I don't want to care for women, I don't want to give children services, and I don't want universal health care. And we're out of food for the babies.
Hell, we're almost out of food for the parents. Because every week
you would convince me, and that's my thought. You convince me that you care about it, since we're going to all this work to hurt and harm women. If you're ensuring that women have full health care and funding, because we can't just out with health care, we need funds, because people cost money. Now, the definition that the Southern Baptist Church used for abortion, and I'm going to end with this, or used for defining life, was that their thought was A life was not fully for and a fetus is not fully a person until it's been separated from the mother. Now, argue me down. Well, it can survive without the mom. When can it do that? Well, you guys have been approving late term. Those don't happen. In circumstances where there have to be health, like extremely late term abortions, the mother is about to die. Babies aren't, and I know that the narrative, because I watched I listen to other opinions, so I know what I'm up against. I know what's trying to take me down. Nobody was out here aborting babies at 8 months. But when you tell a woman that she's not eligible to correct her body after it's been assaulted by a family member or some random person, and I fear saying this, that some of the reasons that you want these things struck down is just so that you can keep doing what you're doing to women. And then punish the women. And it's I'm full, and that's enough. This series continues, and for more information, make sure you follow the hashtag This Is Happening. Thought of it just upsets me. So those are my final words, Tiff. I don't know what else you got.
I will end with, I can't just make it about the babies, because again, there's a much larger problem. And the problem is, if they can take away the right for a woman to decide what is best for her life or best for her body, they can also take away my right to vote. They can take away my right to drive a car. They can take away my right to own a house. They can take away my right to get an education. They can take away my right to be a woman. They can take away my right to wear my hair however I want to wear it. They can take away my right to wear black on any given day if I want it. They can take away my right to work any job I want to work. They can take away my right to do basically anything that I want to do. They can take away my right to sit wherever I want to sit on a bus. They can take away my right to be in church without fear of being shot and killed. They can take away my right to walk down the street on any street at any given time during the day. They can take away my right to do whatever it is that I want to do equitably in this country as a woman, as a human, and as a Black woman. This is happening.
This is happening
now.
It's happening, and it's happening now. We'll see you next time.